Hello, everyone. Welcome to Q4 Unpacked, top tips and tricks for Amazon sellers' best season. That's right. We're in the midst of Q4, everyone. Welcome to a webinar hosted by Frisbee, as well in conjunction with Seller Systems Plus. Data Dive, as well as one of Data Dive users and former guest of my podcast, the Global Spin podcast, Antonio Bindi, Amazon seller who's crushing all around the world, as well as Brandon Young, who's crushing all around the world. Thank you both for hopping on our webinar today to talk Q4. Gentlemen, why don't you, if people haven't heard of you or are living under a rock, why don't you kind of give a quick introduction and we'll just go ahead and kick off our webinar, if you will, please. Brandon, go ahead.
Who do you want to start?
Yeah, Brandon, go ahead. You're on my top left. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I guess I'm over here as well, so it might be the same for everyone.
Oh man, yeah, there you go.
So I'm Brandon Young. Started selling on Amazon 2015. Started private label 2016. Started teaching in 2018. Really figured out how to choose products based in data, how to launch them, and started teaching that methodology with Seller Systems, our community. We've grown a private mastermind called the Inner Circle to over 1,000 members, of which Antonio is a member. And we've got over 400 sellers doing over $1 million in our mastermind. Our brands will do over 30 million. We're still sellers first. And then what we learn from selling, we teach. And then what we teach, we automate with our new software called Data Dive, which we launched last year.
Which is amazing, and you're getting so much great feedback from that system. It's so cool to see how brands have evolved under your umbrella. So thank you for all you've done and helping people. Even today, people are going to take away awesome tips and tricks to help them be successful. But Brandon, you weren't always. We can go into later detail. But Antonio, like you said, you're an Inner Circle member. Why don't you go ahead and kick us off and tell us about your background if people haven't heard you speak before or heard our podcast from before.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Brian. Yes, I'm Antonio Bindi. I am a 8-figure seller now. Yes, Inner Circle member. Learned much of what I know and what I apply in my business with my good friend Brendan. We've known each other for maybe 4 years now. It's been a great ride. Brandon's super helpful. Thank you publicly for all of the teachings and everything we've always talked about.
At the end of the day, like I look, it's super humbling, but at the end of the day, Antonio is like a beast, right? Like it takes a lot of work. Like I can show you the systems, but then to really dive into it, to implement it, to build out a team, to really go to that next level is all on you, man. Like you've done some amazing things. So it's a lot of credit to you, not to me.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been selling since 2018, right about 5 years now. We're now in 13 marketplaces, sending inventory to 4 different destinations, managing PPC in Swedish, apart from English, all of those crazy languages up in Europe. But yeah, been expanding product lines, a couple brands. Doing well. That's the short story.
Awesome. And then just a recap for people who haven't seen or heard me before on the internet. My name is Cramer. I'm the head of marketing and growth here at Frisbee. My job is to teach, educate, and grow, helping sellers and brands grow internationally. That's taking brands if they're just selling in the US and helping them understand the market that is Amazon on a global perspective. So that can be selling into Canada, what all these different acronyms are, all these different programs that Amazon's pushing down our throat. How can I be a part of it? That's all for me to understand and help you guys grow. So what we're going to be doing today is, because it's such an important part, we're talking before this webinar, people like Brandon who most of their business, if it's a seasonal product, you said what, 40%, Brandon, you were, if that's a stat that we can kind of start with. So much business happens in Q4, these 3 precious months. What is that like as an entrepreneur, as an Amazon seller? As the more and more you do this, does it feel like more pressure every year that happens this time around, or does it feel like easier the more you do it? How can we start getting people empowered about this time of year that where most of our business and revenue come from?
So it is a lot more stressful, knowing that the majority of your year is going to be made up in a few months, and you need a lot of preparation in advance. So one of the things that really helped us was figuring out how to work backwards, set goals. And so it's been 3 years now, just about, that I started working with a CEO coach, and Antonio hears me talk about him all the time. And he'll actually be at Camp Ecom, so you get to meet him, you fellow Brazilian. And so the way that it works is that in Amazon, as a private label seller, you generally need to be working 2 to 3 quarters out. So I say minimum of 6 months, you need to be thinking in advance. And you should probably be, for Q4, thinking even further out. So you need to think about, what am I going to be selling, launching? How many units can I expect to sell during that holiday season for every SKU I already have that's existing and every SKU that I plan on launching? Now, the difficult part about this usually is that you have to figure out what are the resources required to launch, manage, purchase, ship, and do all those things with all those SKUs, right?
And
So
store them.
Yeah.
Mainly store them. I think Q4
Yeah.
the big thing is
and storage as well. So you have all of that management that you need to be planning ahead for. So the system that we use is basically, what are our goals for the year from a revenue standpoint, and what percentage of that revenue is going to come from existing SKUs, and what percentage of that revenue is going to come from new SKUs, and then how many new SKUs should we be launching in order to hit those targets. And then what are the levers we're pulling on the existing SKUs to raise those? So generally around conversion or traffic, right? And so once we understand, okay, we're going to launch 40 new products, 20 in October, 20 in November, for example. Now we work backwards from there. What does it take to launch a new product? So we've got to do an initial, get a lot of samples before we place orders. Generally, for every couple samples we get, we'll place 1 order. So it's 2 to 1. And then in order to find a product that qualifies to get a sample, we might analyze 100 products to get 2. So for every 100 products we really analyze and go deep on and understand, looking at the keywords, the competitors, and qualifying that product from a design perspective, it takes 100 of those in order for us to want to order samples for 2 of them. And then for every 2, we get 1. So now you can see how we're starting to work backwards. If I want to launch 40 products, I got to get 80 samples. I've got to analyze 4,000 products, right? Wow. So now I understand what is the amount of work and effort, and what is that leading activity. Everything's about leading activities and lagging metrics. Sales is a lagging metric. By the time you look at sales, you've already done all the work, right? Mm-hmm. So we need to understand preparation for Q4 is, once Q4 is here, it's a lagging metric. You're already in it. There's nothing you can much do about it, right? So we have to be thinking 6 to 9 months in advance. What are we going to be doing in Q4? And what do we need to be doing today, every single day? What is our leading activity that we're doing on a daily basis that's going to lead to that success in Q4?
A 9 month, or that's a good way to put it. I like the lagging metric of sales is that, but you've done all this front end work. Antonio, does that equate to kind of the same 1-to-1, or those metrics? Does those match kind of with the products that you guys are seeing as well, or has that become more apparent, like the more you work and with the time with Brandon and his system, that's a system that seems like math is going to work in your favor? Is that pretty applicable to your business?
No, it is. The 6 months in advance is pretty applicable. That's what we do as well. Mostly because you're ordering and shipping products with 30 days to produce, 30 days to ship, and 30 days to distribute along Amazon. So you got to look at everything 90
You're
days.
about bulk shipments, things like that, like on an ocean container. Okay, exactly.
So if you're doing like a big container shipping straight into Amazon with the way we're doing, we're shipping straight full containers into Amazon, and we only have like a small selection of products that we keep at a 3PL for emergency purposes.
Sure.
But what we do is 6 months in advance, you have to start looking at your expected inventory levels, because you don't want to over order. You want to have enough inventory for the season, but you also don't want to be overstocked. So it's a very delicate balance of having enough inventory but not too much, for you not to get overwhelmed with storage fees, which go crazy on Amazon. So whereas during Q1, 2, and 3, we expect to have always maybe 60 days minimum of inventory at Amazon. For Q4, we put that down to like 20 to 30 days, with more frequent, smaller shipments, smaller batches, and batches that being stored at a 3PL, just so we avoid that. So especially with products that are bulkier, which mine are, you want to be very careful with not being overstocked.
Right. Those are good points that I want to dive in a little bit for both of you. So, Antonio, you mentioned, hey, inventory levels, super important. Brittany as well, working backwards with the data and insights. When you're getting to those kind of those quicker replenishments, obviously Amazon accepts two options. You have your bulk shipments, your LTL, or your containers, and you have to schedule those out in advance, which historically here at Frisbee, we've seen over the last 2 years, maybe back to even 3 years ago, we saw just the struggle of trying to get a time to get lots of inventory in there, because all the dates for scheduled times to load in product, they don't exist. Amazon runs out of time. People block them out. We've seen bad actors just completely wipe those out, or have them, not available, and you can't get inventory in there. Then you have small parcel delivery, so you're using a third-party carrier. Frisbee works with in this lane very well. You're getting in smaller, whether it be boxes, or you're getting pallets loaded in there. It just gets scheduled, and they check them in once they arrive within a couple of hours. Walk me through that kind of emergency blanket, if you will, of, hey, sales are going better than expected. We did all this work and homework, but we need to still replenish. Otherwise, it's the kiss of death. We run out of inventory. We did all that work, and it's just going to be more money and hard work to get it back up to expectation if we run out of inventory. So what does that plan look like for both of you, if you will? Is there like you said, Antonio, maybe start with you. You have this third-party warehouse. You have that just sitting there waiting on standby just in case. Is that what you call it with your team?
Yeah,
just in case inventory.
We call it our buffer inventory. It's the inventory that we don't touch, and it's comprised mostly of our A-curve products. So we decided that we have to accept a level of service that is lower for B and C products than it is for A products. We have those products that we cannot run out of stock ever, because in the way we classify our products, it's not just ABC. We have like a triple letter system, and they are, so I'll have a product that can be an AAA or ABA, and that depends on, the first letter is usually how much the product sells within the whole catalog. So the 20% top products in the whole catalog are A players. My 20%, and I have a lot of variations in a lot of product families, and the second letter goes for the top products in the family. So if that's a top SKU, or a SKU that frequently ranks for the family, for the variation family, I can't run out of that one, even if it means being overstocked. Like my best ranker has to be, that's actually my third letter. My best ranker in the family usually gets an A as well. So even if I have a product that doesn't sell that much, it's like a midway product, but it's the main ranker, it also gets an A. So all of my products that have an A in this classification method, they're kept in a warehouse, and I keep 45 days worth of inventory at the warehouse, because that allows me to supply while I'm having another shipment coming from China.
Brandon, what about you? Is that the same metric that you're having a bunch of what if something like best case? It's almost like best case scenario. If I tap into this inventory, that's a good thing, I would think, for an Amazon seller, but it's also a scary thing too. Like walk me through of, do you want to tap into that? Is a good thing, or is it like a freaks you out and it makes you like quiver every time you're thinking about it? When you think about that inventory?
Yeah, so we send a larger percentage of inventory to 3PLs versus Amazon than Antonio does. We also aren't international. We should become a client of Frisbee to help us do that. So the majority of our sales have been .com. We've always felt that pulling the lever of .com for the effort to sales ratio was better than other marketplaces. But I think there are probably 10% of our SKUs that would be great international. As long as we can validate the design will resonate there. I'm all about like data. So I have an opportunity to go into Japan. Japan would be great. It's right next to China. Like the inventory cycle is much faster, right? Like it's an amazing market. But my toys won't resonate with Japanese kids as much as like Japanese toys, which tend to be manga and stuff like that, and different types of cartoons. So and there's no Pickfu or Intellivi for Japan that I know of, right? So
Coming soon. They're expanding internationally, so you might want to ask John and Justin a little bit about that. So coming soon.
Yeah, I did. I talked to them, and we'll see if they can do it. I was to the point where I would actually hire someone to stand on a corner and just ask, "Would you buy our toys?" Like versus the current bestsellers, right? Like, and just get them to press a button on an iPad. Which one would you pick, right? Like, and if I can get some validation in any way, I would probably launch the products. But yeah, that's another story.
Well,
for us, our biggest levers, our biggest levers this year are other marketplaces, non-Amazon. So we're doing a lot with Temu, which takes inventory in China, which is very interesting versus here. But Walmart's a big lever for us. And we hired a Walmart channel manager. We fully expect that to be a 7-figure channel for us this year, and potentially an 8-figure channel for us next year as we expand. We think that we can get to 20% of our sales, and our target for next year will be about 50 million. So we are going to pull that lever really hard, which means we need to bring in a lot of inventory to 3PL partners here, or directly to Walmart warehouse, Amazon warehouse, and then 3PLs to have overflow for both, the same way Antonio does. But for the most part, we're not as efficient as I think we should be on supply chain, and I think that's the biggest lever that large sellers can start to pull that Antonio's great at, because he had to be, because his stuff is larger. And I think we neglected that for a long time because a lot of it was cheap. And while I was just in LA 2 weeks ago, I was at a summit while Jennifer, my wife, was visiting a couple of our warehouses that we do business with. And we decided that we need to renegotiate rates. We need to make some changes in our supply chain. We're not happy with what we're doing as a percentage of our sales. And toys have a smaller margin to begin with. So that's definitely a lever we can pull to get more efficient. But the long story short is that we do have in 3PL excess inventory for Q4, for holiday seasons. We do a lot of seasonal things as well to try to balance the year. So you spoke earlier about a lot of people will have 50% of the year in Q4. Ours is below 40% because we do a lot of summer things, right? So we try to have a couple humps in the year versus just a giant, Q4. And so we've added other holidays like 4th of July and Valentine's Day and Halloween, right? So we try to balance the year and smooth it out a little bit here, but Q4 is still the bulk of it. People are shopping for the holidays.
And I think that it's just when your product becomes available, right? Like you said, toys in that category. And Antonio, I know you have a completely different category in itself. There's a lot of evergreen where you see just all year round. You want to be consistent, and you want to see that. I think every entrepreneur would rather have it consistent across the board and never rely on 40% happens in 1 month. That's terrifying for a lot of services or any sort of entrepreneur. But I agree. I think Amazon's trying to elongate that too with different deals that are going on. Prime Day happening in July. Now there's this Prime Day 2.0, aka Prime Big Better Deals Day on October 10th and 11th, which is right before they hike up their holiday or their FBA inventory pricing. So it's kind of, you kind of always see it's right before, then they charge more money. So they're trying to make those spikes themselves as well. So helping out sellers in that, I think, is what they want to do. Quick point, Brandon, cool tool that actually, here's a tip for everyone who it's free to use. It's in Seller Central. You're talking about opportunities to sell products that are high demand in different marketplaces. Free tool to use. It's called the Amazon Marketplace Product Guidance Tool. Released 4 weeks ago. It's a brand new tool within Seller Central that you can actually pull up and see opportunities for your current ASIN and your catalog to sell in opportunities for EU, UK, and Japan. So something where it's having like audiences that are searching for like keywords, you can actually look for your products and see how in those different marketplaces, like you said, if it's not just US, you can find it in Japan marketplace, and maybe your product being searched for, you just need to have it compliant and make sure that it's available to be that in that marketplace. So Amazon is actually pushing for more categories to be released in all these different marketplaces as they release. Antonio, I know you were joking of PPC in Swedish. I have to figure that out because your products are being searched for in Sweden, which is crazy to think about on a global perspective. As brands become bigger, you become a global brand. You have to start thinking about the other different, seasonalities of products of, with different holidays going on. We have Hanukkah in the Jewish calendar, so that's eight deals or 8 days of giving that we can tap into. Or you talking about Diwali and all these other different global holidays that Amazon wants to tap into as well. They just need the actual catalogs to be available and products to be available in those marketplaces as well. So you're seeing that in you're talking about that as a brand, Brandon, in Walmart. Are there other marketplaces that you're trying to diversify and trying to expand your brand into these other marketplaces, so it's not just a Amazon centric brand? Or are we seeing that start to evolve with sellers in the e-com space more?
So I think that the lever there for us is around expansion and growth for the brand, more around branding and presence, and figuring out what are the levers we can pull with the least amount of effort to get the most lift, right? That's kind of the way you have to think about it. Antonio has seen this strategy, again, taught by my CEO coach, which we lay out all the value levers in the business in what's called a taxonomy of value. And so it basically shows you where all of your valuation of your company comes from sales and profits, and it lays it all out for you in this nice graph and chart. And then you can choose which levers you want to pull over the next quarters, right? So that way you can really prioritize what will you put the least amount of effort into next quarter, and then 2 quarters from now and 3 quarters from now, to get the most lift in your business and in your valuation of your business. And so other channels were one of the levers that we're pulling this year, as well as licensing. So taking some of our toys and partnering with intellectual property. Can't get Disney with a couple of the things I want to get Disney with because they have exclusives with a couple of our competitors. But for example, Paw Patrol, right? Like we can pull that lever where we're already beating the current best-selling Paw Patrol toy in our market because we're good at Amazon, right? And if you give us Paw Patrol on top of that, it's a no-brainer. It would just triple sales again. Like, so we're figuring that like those are the 2 levers for us: multi-channel, omni-channel. And toys aren't good for D2C, so that was never a good option for us. I think certain markets work really well for driving people to your own Shopify store, but for a $20 average price point on a toy, and you spend $15 to get someone there to purchase it, doesn't really make sense most of the time. And there's no LTV there because they'll buy a toy, and then maybe next year when the kid turns 3, they bought it for their 2-year-old, and then when the kid turns 3, maybe they come back. But it's tough to get that same loyalty. So that's our expansion.
Interesting. Yeah. And then Antonio, for you in that kind of like growth mentality, what strategies are you looking at? Like we talked about licensing. There's all these different levers that you can make keyforce or like these amazing bumps stack on top of each other, and you're building on your margins What are you and your brands, I should say, looking to take advantage this year? What does that look like?
Two things we did over the last year was catalog expansion, opening up new product lines entirely within the brand, and international. So last year was about expanding internationally. For us, it's much easier than for Brandon, for sure, because we don't have to get certified. Toys are much trickier in that sense to expand. For us, it's basically list the product. ChatGPT helps us with the translations. Now even Data Dive has its own AI to help you build your localized listings with all the keywords that you need. So it's super easy. The pictures are ready. Translating the listings are ready, and you launch a product with 1,000 reviews on day one. So for us, that was like a much easier process than to try to start figuring out Walmart and doing the whole process with them. Of course, we expanded firstly to Canada and the UK, which are like the obvious, the easiest ones to get into, but just because you just replicate your listings. And then Germany is doing pretty well for us right now. It's actually better than the UK. Apart from that, everything else it's marginal. But once you have your products in Germany, might as well sell them everywhere else just by translating your listings. I joked about the Swedish PPC. Honestly, we don't look into the smaller countries, the PP in detail. We have like automation doing our bids, but we don't put the same energy in Poland, Germany, in Poland as we do in Germany for sure. So we have like an account manager just for Germany. We have a PPC manager just for UK and Canada, and someone else just for the US. So that's how we're splitting up our efforts. But at this point, 40% of our sales are in Europe now. So
that's a huge.
Yeah, that we almost doubled our sales over the last year just because of the international expansion.
Amazing. I love hearing that. And again, opportunity for lower bids on all these other markets when you have billions of people who are around the world searching for these. I think that's why Amazon's constantly leading with, hey, Prime Day or Prime Big Better Deals Day is going to be in 19 countries this year. It's not just US. It's a global phenomenon. I want to go back. You made a really cool comment there. I think for both of you, I'm really I want to make sure that everyone who's listening can understand. At what point are these growth levers? You said automated. This is my threshold for automation, and this is my threshold where I need to have hands-on one person who's dedicated solely just in this marketplace or just in this channel. What is that for both of you? Is that a revenue threshold? Is that a time capacity for both of you? What are those considerations that both of you as entrepreneurs who have to make those choices? What are you considering when it comes to, I need to have someone who's dedicated to it versus the automation?
So this is an awesome question.
It is.
This is what I always struggled with. Us as entrepreneurs, we have shiny object syndrome, and so we always want to do everything at all times. And obviously,
we can. We know we can.
We can. We know we can, and we never do. And it's we fail miserably. So, literally, the first thing that our coach did when he sat down with us is like, okay, you already have a very complicated network of things you're doing, right? Like we had the coaching business and we had the brands business, right? And so at that time we were exploring what is this next, what else can we do? Because we have in this ecosystem the ability to do other things, and software was an option with Data Dive, and the other option that we were exploring is investing in students, right? Like, so we create a fund and we really create this growth. And then we had other things, right? Like we had retail, we had all these other things that we wanted to do. So here's the practice. Here's the best way to do this. Because it all comes down to the resources, and resources are time and capital and people, right? So time is people and capital is money. So what you need to do is to understand the opportunity that's at hand. You need to ask yourself, what does success look like in 12 months from pulling that lever? So you say, what is it worth? If everything goes right, everything's perfect, you execute perfectly, what is your revenue and your profit? And you need to chart this out, like revenue and profit for that opportunity. And then what is your chance of success? What is your confidence level that you will be successful? Because that's another really important piece a lot of people think, because they feel like they're going to be successful in everything they do, but you got to be realistic. Is it 75%? Is it 50%? Is it 90%? Right? Then you multiply those two things. So this lever is worth $2 million top line revenue. It's worth, $350,000 profit. And I'm 80% sure we can achieve that. Right? Multiply that, those numbers by 80%, and you put it in a column. Then you take the next opportunity and you do the same exact thing. And I'm sorry, I missed a part. And how many hours, what are the resources required to pull that lever? So
man hours, investment.
How many man hours and capital are required? Because you have limited capital and you have limited man hours, right? So you say, okay, what are the hours and the dollars required for that lever? And once you do that for every opportunity that you think of, because you want to do it all, and you've got 5 things you want to do, and you put them in columns, usually the answer is going to be very clear which lever you should be pulling. Usually. Because you're like, okay, that's a whole new channel I got to learn. That's 100 hours of education. That's hiring 3 people. I've got to hire those people. That's X amount of hours of hiring. That's an X amount of dollars in costs for additional people. That's all of these resources to get this extra little bit of revenue at this lower confidence level, because I don't know anything about it, versus this other one, which is a little bit less revenue, but 90% confidence level and a lot less resources.
And as you mentioned, how much will that dent my valuation?
Right, exactly. So you've got that. That's the way we look at this, is to figure out, once you're ready to expand, you got to do that practice. You got to figure out, because a lot of people, when they're first starting out on Amazon, the reality is, if you're just doing 7 figures, just crossing that $1 million threshold, $3 million threshold, the best lever usually is still Amazon. It's going from 3 million to 10 million. That's a hard lever. Building your business from you and a couple VAs, you and a partner and a couple VAs, you and a couple specialists on your team at $2 to $3 million, because that's generally the size of your business, to 10 million requires 4 to 7 more people for your team, and you learning how to start to become a manager versus you running everything in your business. You learning how to delegate, you learning how to create processes and systems that are replicatable by other people on your team. That's another lever you got to pull, but usually that's the most profitable lever still. So you've got to really have people understand, again, working backwards. I have all these things I can do. What is it going to lead to? And what is it going to take to pull that lever? What is my leading activity? What are the resources I need? And which one's the most profitable over the next 12 months?
Is that the biggest barrier, Antonio, is like people just don't math correctly, for lack of a better phrase, is they're not working backwards. They're not making sure that the numbers add up, and they're just like, again, shiny object syndrome. I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to try everything.
And a lot of wishful thinking without actual numbers. People believing that product will sell $1 million a month, but they didn't even do the market research to see that their best competitor isn't doing anything close to that. So yeah, having the opportunity numbers at hand, and like Brendan said, seeing where you will see yourself in 12 months or whatever period you think fit. It's a great way to see if the juice is worth the squeeze.
All right. So going back to, again, focusing on Q4 specifically, if I'm a new seller, again, Brandon, you work with a lot of, I'm assuming, newer sellers who are looking to grow in that capacity. When we're working backwards with these numbers and they're taking these leap forward, we're looking at, I'm assuming, more products are adding to a portfolio and you're adding on top of it. Where's that major growth for a seller? I'm gonna say, like, who's now a year under their belt and this is their second go around. What is that big growth lever that you see consistently that sellers are taking, that they see the most success in? I wouldn't say, What is that? Just optimizing your PPC? Is it more of you're killing your bad product? Is it the logistics side of things? Is it the inventory side? What are the things that you're seeing from your students who are most successful, who have taken that step forward?
So it's going to be two things. If you lay out the growth levers and you've got international expansion and you've got new products and existing products, right? So underneath existing products, you've got international expansion as an opportunity for more traffic and conversions. That's generally going to be a very good lever to raise that bar, right? Then you've got the other lever, which is new products, new product development. Generally, for new product development, your first go around is going to be on .com because that's the biggest lever. So if you think about where growth comes from, where revenue comes from, again, there's only two places. It's existing products and new products. So generally, the levers that people should be pulling are going to be international expansion with existing products, optimizing conversion rates on existing products, and or sending more traffic to existing listings on, as far as traffic. So traffic conversions. Traffic can come from new marketplaces. It can come from new advertising funnels. It can come from optimizing PPC. Conversions can come from content. It can come from pulling all the levers of content on your listing, pricing strategies, optimizing costs, right? There's a lot of levers there. So once you start to break down which of those higher level levers you want to pull based on the effort it's going to take to pull them and what your leading activities are, you've got to move forward. So if you're just starting your year in and you've got a couple successful products, those are the two levers. Existing products, international expansion as an option, right? Working with Frisbee, right? Like you guys help them take it to 10 other markets. And new products. If you have the resources to pull both of those levers, it's probably going to be the right way to go about it. Take a channel manager on your team who's in charge of international expansion. Put them there, and then start doing your research every day. Start doing new product research, validation, use Data Dive daily, do dives, understand how to do a product scorecard, how to give a quantifiable score on the opportunity and the risk of a product, and working backwards from your goals for revenue that year, understand how many products you have to launch, which means how many samples you need to order, how much product research you need to do. And if you understand, and then you can create a scorecard. You're like, okay, I chose to launch 10 products this year, which means I'm going to keep about 4 or 5 of them. So I'm going to have 4 or 5 brand new products going into next year that are going to raise my revenue by this much. So I need to order 20 samples. I need to research 1,000 products. And I'm going to research 20 products a day. That's, a lot of days of research, right? A lot of
time
hours
on Data Dive, yeah.
It's a lot of time doing research. So yeah, those are the two levers and that you should be focusing on. And it doesn't change when you get to 8 figures, right? Antonio will tell you all it is you're not doing it as much anymore. It's your teammate doing it. He has a product research full-time guy. He has a product development full-time guy. I serve that role in my business. I love to do product design and product development. And I'm constantly in communication with my team in China and saying, you know what? I'm the one working with AI to do product design because I love it. I finally just hired a designer and I say, give me 10 brand new cute bunnies because I want to do this new toy that has a bunch of bunnies on it. And then she'll go play with Midjourney the same way I would and come back and give me some really cute bunnies, right? Like that's it.
I love that. And a lot of that, and a lot of that comes in planning. I want to take like right now, Antonio, as we have this conversation, are you and your team talking about, hey, what can we do today to like make us better? Like today, not 6 months down the road, not a year down the road. Those are smart entrepreneurs who are still planning that far out. What are we doing today as a seller who can contribute and take those like quantifiable tweaks right now? What are we doing as a seller right now to prep ourselves for a very successful Q4?
Yeah, one mentality that I'm trying to put in my team, and this is something we've been talking about recently, is to think of the incremental gains on every aspect of the business. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but it's coined by Dave Brailsford, who was the coach for the British cycling team. and he decided it wasn't a good team at all until he came over and said, let's improve everything about the team by 1%. So the lubricant they were using, the chains, the clothes they were wearing, the pillows they were sleeping on, the tires, everything, he tried to find something to improve by 1%. And by doing that, he went on to win was it the Tour de France?
Tour de France, yeah.
Tour de France, like 4 or 5 times in a row. And we try to exercise that mentality, because by doing that, we found things that we could be saving 50%, like in our storage, or in 20% in our pallet outbound shipments, or our packaging could be 10% more efficient. And we found a bunch of those, and these all add up. And in the end, all of these small tweaks that you make, not only they do add up, but they also have your team exercising where to find them and trying to get better and better. So I'm really big on this exercise right now to tweak every aspect of your business. And this is something that I'm possibly talking about in the next events. If I get invited.
You were already invited. I'll make it official. Ryan, hopefully Ryan is there. And you know, we've still got to solidify that. But you should be speaking at Camp Ecom coming up in January.
Yeah.
Again. I mean,
officially, Antonio, you're invited back. We've made it live.
If you'll have us like that, Antonio, if you'll grace us by being on stage with us, I would love to have you.
I'll be happy to. And to be honest, that was one of the best events that I've been to in the industry. We've talked about that. I'm not saying that this because it's you, but what you put on in terms of networking opportunities, and the way you divided the tracks for like beginners and people who are sellers who are more advanced, that made it so much interesting. Like the whole content that that a seller was there to watch was interesting for their level, as opposed to many of these events that most of the presentations are catered for everyone, but not really. They don't even really touch everyone. So the way you set it up was really, really valuable. And I know that beginners were astounded as much as large scale sellers.
Look at that. I already have promotions ready. Everyone go ahead and check out Camp Ecom, January 14th through 16th, 2024.
Much appreciated, Ryan.
At the Doubletree by Hilton at SeaWorld Orlando. Can't get much better than that. It's going to be number second go around. So Brandon's crazy enough to put on an event for the second time. So it must be good, everyone.
Well, we obviously lost money with our first time doing the event, which is expected, right? Like, but the value that was driven from it and the camaraderie in the community is so important to me that, you know, hopefully we just did the numbers again this year. We should break even. So it's not for the money, guys. The whole point, though, is that it's a workshop. It's different. You go to events and you got someone talking at you from stage, you don't get much from it. But if every single speaker is there having you fill out a worksheet, fill out an SOP, customize something to your business, and then after you learn it, you break into groups to do an activity, you're going to leave understanding it at a very deep level and be able to implement it in your business. So, and this year we expanded to 3 tracks because 2 wasn't enough. We did pre-launch, post-launch, and then for the bigger sellers, the guys doing mid 7 figures and 8 figures that want to learn this business management that we're talking about earlier, then we have the business management track. But I don't want to make this a Camp Ecom commercial. Let's move on, Ryan.
No, well, I'm gonna spend. Yeah, no, not a problem. I'm sure everyone on here, if you haven't learned already, we're gonna make sure we have a link on there. Again, go check it out. Just Google search it. It's the easiest way to do it. CampEcom.com, or just reach out to any of us smart people over here at Frisbee. Couple questions we had to come on rolling in. Again, if you're watching the replay, please go ahead and submit these. We will look at them. I will make sure the team here has those questions, and we'll reach out via personal message or whatever email there might be. If they offer their emails and contact information at the end, we can obviously make sure everyone gets in contact. But for the people who are here live, I'm going to reward you all for joining us on this beautiful Thursday or Friday, depending on where in the world you're listening to. First question came in. Antonio, good question. This was a question that came up earlier that I had in my head. How do you launch a product with 1,000 reviews already? Goodness gracious.
I'm this is specifically for international expansion, because you have a product that already has 1,000 reviews in the US. You're launching
global reviews. Yep.
Yeah, the global reviews. The product is launched in Germany or the UK, and then it inherits all of the reviews that you have in the US. So if you're competing with another seller who's only doing Germany or only doing local, and you have all of your reviews from the US, it's very likely that you have a lot more reviews than he has on day one.
Yeah, global reviews, specifically, like you had mentioned, when you launch that same product, it's tied to that ASIN. You get them across the board. It's not specific by a country. When you get a lot from that country, they will just feature said country. But typically, yeah, if you have a really good, strong product, which you're leading the way in those new markets, you will see those global reviews pull from probably the US, but again, people from all over the world who are submitting those off until you're strong enough in Amazon's words and eyes that you can just have it supported by just local marketplace reviews.
I haven't seen my US reviews being ripped out from the products. From what I can tell, all of my US reviews are being added up to my international listings.
Interesting. So they're still adding those into your global reviews as well. Yep. So that's a good tip. And again, it's constantly changing. We see Amazon take away reviews. We see them give it back. Give it, then you take it, or changing how they get them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's a good point.
Just complimenting on this question and what Brandon was talking about a few minutes ago. Having a system where you launch your products in the US and then you expand into international, that's the way to do it. You don't want to try and invent the wheel in a completely new country. Just put your product out in the USA, prove the concept, get traction, get your reviews there, and then you start sending a small quantity or just testing the waters in other countries. Once you already have all the images, reviews, everything, all of the heavy work that has to be done, you just send the product over, do a little launch promotion or PPC push, and see where that goes. I wouldn't. I'm honestly not doing any special launch strategies in the other marketplaces apart from the US. I mean, I did something in Canada and that was it. But for nowadays, what I'm doing is just offering the product in the new marketplace.
That's amazing. And again, Patricia, thank you for the question. As always, we want to thank you for listening to us for the entire hour that you've been here available. A couple more questions I know that came in. Again, everyone, I will keep these gentlemen as long as I can. They're busy just like all of us, but I will make sure all the questions are answered. If you have questions, you can obviously we'll give each other contact information at the end of this. Brandon's question for him from Muhammad: what is your PPC strategy for Christmas specific product? And I think it was, product that is totally Christmas specific. I think branded specific, everything that's only supposed to be bought during Christmas time. Is there a strategy you can share for us there, Brandon?
So it's really important to really understand when the demand for that product is going to increase, so that you can prepare your PPC expansion to mirror that, right? I think the initial launch can be a little bit more difficult if you're trying to run ads at a time when no one's shopping for it, but the product should be live maybe a week to 2 weeks before that bump in conversion, because you want to establish your indexing. So for us, and I'll give you an example, like we don't sell it, but an advent calendar, for example, right? Usually people do an advent calendars from December 1st to December 25th. They're going to be buying that starting in mid-November through the end of November. And then after December starts, the sales drop. So it's not a true like holiday or Christmas product in the same sense that a lot of people are doing last minute shopping for a gift they're going to give on the 25th. So you have to really understand the market and what you're giving. The same is true with decorations. Decorations are people are going to start decorating after Thanksgiving generally, but earlier and earlier in the US now, like nowadays, it seems like as soon as you start, seeing specials for pumpkin spice, you're starting to hear Christmas music. And you need to understand people are going to start decorating mid-November, and they're going to be decorating through like the first week of December, and then decorations are going to fall off. So you really have to understand the market. Is it a gift that's going to be, is the peak season going to be through Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then rise up until like December 15th to 18th? Or is it going to fall off after the first week of December? And you need to turn on those ads and expand the campaigns, understand what your keyword roots are for that product, understand the relevancy of the keywords so that you can adjust your bids, and you need a mix. Generally, what we do with PPC is we will group the keywords based on root word. So a root word would be a repeated word or phrase that that you see come up in the same amount of keywords on a regular basis. So it could be like Christmas gift. It could be Christmas decoration. It could be, those would be two different roots that are very specific to your product. Or felt diaper caddy versus gray diaper caddy. That would be two specific repeated root words or phrases that you would target separately. And if you're selling the diaper caddy that happens to be gray and felt, you'll notice that you'll convert better maybe for felt than gray. But those will convert better than just diaper caddy because it's more specific. It's more specific to your product. And so what you can do is you can be far more aggressive with the more specific, higher converting root words, even though they have less generally traffic. You could be a lot more aggressive there. And then you're less aggressive with the less specific. That's a great strategy for expansion into the holidays, because you need to understand what's going to be high converting, what's going to be lower converting, and what is the purpose of that campaign. How aggressive should you be? And then you need to go really wide. Everything's going to convert better in holidays generally. So you expand if it's a product, like outside of his question, if it's a product that isn't holiday specific, you need to have a plan to turn on more campaigns and expand your budgets, because you will see keywords that weren't as good for you previously that will be good during the holiday season, and you want to turn those on and be aggressive.
Yeah. And there's a lot to unpack there. Obviously, it's obviously use the data that tools like DataDev are giving you as well. I want to add a little tip as well. I've used traditionally with holiday campaigns. A lot of people might joke about it, if like it's so early for me to be seeing Halloween candy in early September. I'm gonna take a free hack and spin it on its head in a positive way for e-commerce sellers. Who has the most valuable market research is retail. Retail knows exactly. They have limited shelf space. There is only so much inventory that they can carry. They know exactly when there are shoppers on a mass level, when it's appropriate to start putting on the shelves that Halloween candy and take up that entire whole 2 rows that they have for that store. I would, as an Amazon seller, look at my holiday specific product, like you said with Muhammad. If you have a Christmas specific item, or you have a competitor in retail, I would look and see when you start to see them pop up and really be pronounced in retail. That's when you need to be starting. And when they start to remove it or put them on clearance or whatever.
That is such a great tip, Ryan, because I think for 2 reasons. The first is that they have the market research. You're kind of piggybacking on that. At least you're assuming it, right?
It's free. Yeah. It's
free. And the second part about that is that you have the halo effect of people when they walk in a store and they look at a product, more and more and more people are looking at something on a shelf, getting their phone out and searching Amazon.
Yep.
And you want to be the result that pops up when they search for it.
Exactly. So if anything, if you get caught off guard,
there, it's a great tip.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And those are something that, again, utilize other people's market research, is especially in retail. You see small shops all the time. They have to know their customer And if you have that like customer, you should help and use your market research again. To use that as kind of a nice measuring stick on when I should be starting to use my PPC campaigns. And again, stop it when it's too late, like an advent calendar or something like that specific. Just wanted to shoot off that tip as well. Quick question for both of you. Hi, Brandon and Antonio. Since Prime Day is just 2 weeks from now, again, Prime Day 2.0, or Prime Big Better Deals, as they like to call it, on October 10th and 11th, what do you think we should do to prioritize?
This was
Brandon. I said Brandon.
Go
for
ahead,
both
Antonio.
of you.
Go ahead.
No, go on.
No, you could start.
Well, I think for Prime Day, especially because it's right in the beginning of the season, it's that time that you can allow yourself to send in a little more inventory. Because if you're left over with inventory after Prime Day, you can always sell throughout the season. One other thing that I think sellers should be doing is trying to increase their conversions before Prime Day. And I would typically recommend doing that with a promotion based on a coupon, because a coupon won't trigger the minimum price that you have to have, like minimum discount that you need to have on a Prime Day. So if you're selling a product for $30 and you want to sell it for $30 on Prime Day, what you can do is advertise it for $40 with a $10 coupon. So now you have like a more enticing offer building up into Prime Day. So your conversions are higher and you rank up higher on Prime Day. So preparing for, that's something that should have been done a couple of weeks ago, 30 days before Prime Day, but also looking at your historical price on that product to see exactly where you'll be in Prime Day. Because everyone set up their prices when the enrollment window was opened, and at that point, your minimum price for a deal could be much lower because you were under a different history than you are now, and you may be able to go into Prime Day with a different price point that you previously, the one you previously set up. So take the very day before, take a look at your Prime Day deals and see if you can adjust and tweak your pricing again.
Yep. Anything you want to add there, Brandon? I know we're going to fire off these pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think Antonio hit it. The biggest thing for that is to make sure you get the badge for Prime Day. Prime Day is super important. That Prime Day exclusive badge. And the way it works is there's going to be a minimum requirement discount that you need to understand in order to get the badge. You can raise your price, and then there's two factors. There's a minimum discount to get the badge, and then there's a minimum selling price below your last 30 days selling price. Yep. So you can do some simple math to figure out if I raise my price by $3 and discount at 20%, which was the minimum last time. Now it's 20% below the previous last 30 days or whatever the discount is there, but you're not truly 20% like discounted, right? Or 10% below. So there's a way so that you can maximize your return on Prime Day without actually just discounting 20%. You've got to figure out what that math is. We have a worksheet for people to figure it out, but generally, like, they keep changing it every single new deal day, so you need to figure out what those two numbers are to maximize your return.
Yeah, and then Daisy, go ahead.
You just mentioned the Prime exclusive deals, which, in my opinion, is what you should be doing, and not actual Prime Day deals, because Prime Day deals, they cost up to $1,000 per.
Yeah, it's insanity. It's really hard. Like if Prime Day is just to blow out inventory, it's fine. But at the same time, like it's for you to make money too. So don't just give away a bunch of units to benefit Amazon's bottom line. It needs to benefit your business as well.
Yeah. Daisy, the only tip I would give, prioritize your inventory. If you don't have a plan in place, make sure you have enough stock going into obviously this very, very busy time of year. Make sure you can get that quickly, whether it be air freight in from a supplier if you happen to have a takeoff product, something like that we help with sellers all the time with Frisbee. But just make sure that you have the inventory. Don't go out of stock, especially going into Q4.
Yeah, Ryan, just to that point, like what I did is I looked at my sales from last year on some on across 10, 15, 20 products. And we looked at how many units we sold in that week period versus a typical week. And it was generally 3 times as many. So you need 2 extra weeks of inventory. And you need to be thinking in terms of that. How many weeks of inventory do I have? Right.
Yep.
Like you say, you want to burn through inventory just for the sakes of being in Prime Day. You want to make money off of it.
Take advantage of it. Just I think Catherine also had a question on piggyback real quick for you both. I thought we can't increase the price too much more than $1 in a single day. Is this still the case?
No, I've done $5 increases because I was running out of stock. I've done much more aggressive increases than that with no issues.
Yeah. To throttle sales.
If you ever lose your own buy box because you've raised your price too much, just keep lowering it until you get your buy box back, and then after a day or two, you can raise it again. So sometimes that you'll have to throttle it, but it's not as sensitive as just $1 or whatever, like to raise it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that is a myth that was put out there by some guru.
It does happen sometimes, but here's another reason it might happen. If you're multi-channel and you're selling on Walmart and Amazon, they will monitor these other marketplaces. As part of this lawsuit that's happening, hopefully this is what comes from it, is that they stop monitoring other marketplaces and forcing you to have the lowest price on Amazon, because they will suppress your buy box if your price is higher on Amazon than it is on Walmart. So that's another thing to be aware of. If you raise it on Amazon, make sure you raise it on Walmart at the same time, or wherever you're at.
Or make sure you're using a different UPC on Walmart so they can't track it.
Yeah, hopefully they're not tracking it with a different UPC and SKU or whatever. Yeah.
List price, promo code, pricing. There's ways that manipulation.
And Angry Orange has a good tactic for that, because they won't sell the same. They won't sell on Amazon the same package or the same bottle of the product that they sell in retail. So Amazon can't say it's at a higher price. But they'll have like the 5 ounce on Amazon, but only sell the 4 ounce in other channels. So it's technically not the same product.
Yeah. Which is a pain. You've got to develop a whole new product line just for another channel. But
it's the game that we're all playing at once. So it's we're figuring it out as we go. Gentlemen, I know we're over time. I know we had a couple questions that people had submitted through. But I will make sure that, hey, if you have a question, to respect both Brandon and Antonio's time, I will, if we can we have our emails be sent out if they have specific questions for each of us and we didn't get to it. I apologize. We had so many people coming late, which I love, and stayed around the whole time. We all are busy, and I wanted to keep it at an hour. Gentlemen, is there an email that people can ask their questions if we didn't get to it? I know there's a lot of good ones. I want to make sure that they get them answered today, though.
Maybe since we're all in the Seller Systems Data Dive group, they can ask there and tag us.
Sure.
And then I'll make sure I'm monitoring it with you guys to answer any questions. This way I don't get a bunch of emails.
Yeah,
to be honest with you, I don't monitor my email box as much as I used to. I have someone doing it for me, so a lot of that stuff would just get swept away.
And one person's question is probably going to be valuable to a lot more people if it's within the group.
That's what I love about it. Yeah, oftentimes I'll get DMs and I'll say ask in the group so other people can get the benefit of the answer. Right.
It's amazing. Yeah, and there's good questions. Again, just for people who are watching on the replay, it's about good time to make next hire. I think that's going to depend upon where you are in your seller journey. Specific questions about Pixelfy me, excuse me. I think that's going to be a specific answer as well. Again, supply relationships, things like that. Those are all fantastic questions, and I'm sorry that these are all coming at the tail end, but for everyone's purpose, we want to make sure that this benefits everyone. So if you can go to the seller system,
real quick, Ryan, sorry to interrupt. Probably don't use PixelMe anymore. Don't use any links. Don't do any rebates. All of that's against terms of service now. Don't play any games like that. And 10 hours a week for Chris is a good start. Like if just start with product research and learn as you go. Sorry.
Gotcha. Oh no, that's great. Those are great short answers. Everyone, thank you so much. Again, if you watch a replay, it'll be available on the Frisbee YouTube channel, or if you can go ahead and this link, you'll get the replay sent directly to your email box. I make it simple. I want you all to be able to fast forward or go at 2x speed if you need to answer or to listen to all of us, all of our tips that we offer today. Thank you so much for people who attended live, who stayed, asked their questions. For people who are watching the replay, we hope this brings value to your Q4 in 2023 and beyond. Gentlemen, is there any last second things you want to mention before we wrap up our webinar today? Tonio?
On the spot now.
Well, you're hosting a party in like a networking thing and getaway in Brazil,
oh,
right?
Yes. Yeah. And in Rio, the week right before Carnaval, we're hosting an event for sellers, both from abroad and for Brazilian sellers. The idea is to have a bit of a international networking so people can exchange experiences, have some speakers. If
Body paint required?
Huh?
Body paint required?
Not necessarily, but I'm not doing it in the week right before Carnaval by chance. So the idea is that people can stay and enjoy, and it's more of like an experience event as well, apart from the great networking. So yeah, if you're into partying, this is going to be a great opportunity. But we're hoping to have like good speakers here as well, and a lot of content for both audiences.
I'm going to continue to ignore your invite until I really think it through, but I'm like 40 to 50% chance going, so I'll keep you posted.
So you're saying there's a chance. Got it.
Yeah, there's a non-zero chance. So the other thing would be, if you guys are interested, there's a free masterclass on sellersystems.com. It's 3 hours about our database approach. And then Ryan, do you have a discount code for Data Dive?
We can get one.
Use the code Frisbee, and you guys save $50 a month on Data Dive. That's what we can do. We'll make it. We'll implement that code in the next couple minutes. And Camp Ecom, super early bird pricing ends in 2 days. You guys save a lot of money on that. So go to campecom.com, and I hope to see you in January in Orlando for some workshops.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that, because you said that last year you lost money on it. But remember that you announced it in November, late November, and you're doing it.
We gave ourselves a little bit more room this year, where we're actually advertising a little bit ahead. Yeah,
I'm sure you'll have a much bigger crowd over there this year.
We're planning on doubling it. So we had 225 attend last year. We're expecting 450 to 500. We'll probably have to cap at 500 because of the way we do the workshop-based and the group-based learning. We can't just have 1,000 people, so we'll probably cap it at some point. So it might sell out. So grab your tickets now while they're much cheaper, and so you don't miss it.
The tease is real, everyone. Yeah, sign up right now for early bird pricing. So use promo code Frisbee. Don't do it now. Use it in a couple of minutes, or give it maybe an hour or two. Do some work, check some emails, and then come back. Go to Camp Ecom, get your ticket, and use promo code Frisbee. For everyone here who's listening, I appreciate it. If you haven't learned about Frisbee, I'm going to give you my email, because that's dangerous, and I like to live on the edge. Ryan@frisbee.com is very easy. If you are listening to this and we're talking global expansion, if you're talking about it and you want to test it this Q4, which is a really good time to do it, especially like Canada, which is easy. You can start sending in inventory today. I'm doing a whole case study on the difference between NARF versus sending in directly to FBA. Amazon claims that they can get a 4 to 8x lift in your sales in Canada.
I got a 37x lift. How about that?
37x. I'm going to quote you. It's going to be on a case study. 37x lift. If you like to see at least a 4x lift in your sales in another marketplace, I'm going to give it to you guys for free to get into Canada, but also 10% off of shipment opportunities with us. We also just announced pallet shipping, which is crazy, and with our partners at FedEx. So priority to get it anywhere in the world at pallets, 1 to 3 days. And we're talking, really bottom pricing, like $1.29. I'm giving you a pound per pallets. Check us out. I'm going to give it 10% off that. So go ahead and email me, Ryan@frisbee.com. Just mention Q4 Unpacked webinar, and we'll go from there. So
I think we should do a case study, Ryan, where you take some of my SKUs and help me expand them.
Let's do it. I mean, I'm on board where that's all the education that we're happening. And again, all the tools and tips and tricks that Amazon's offering for data out there. Again, on top of Data Dive, Amazon really wants people like Antonio to succeed and brands to succeed. 40% growth or of your sales is happening in Europe, which is crazy, everyone. So opportunities out there. Let us help you make the smart choices, the right markets, and we'll help you guys from there. The education is free from Frisbee, and we just like to help people see and be successful and become a global brand. So thank you, everyone. Antonio, Brandon, thank you so much for spending more than an hour. I appreciate you, everyone who attends and watching the replay. We'll catch you guys next time on another Frisbee webinar. Thank you again. Have a great one.
Thanks, Ryan.